listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Mutual Broadcast Network and Talkstar Radio Network and X-Zone Broadcast Network. If you'd like to send an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our radio website where you can listen to past shows and find out what we've done in the past, what we're doing today, and what we'll be doing in the future, www.xzoneradio.com. My guest this hour, X-Zone Nation, is Robby-rush, and he is an occult specialist. Robbie is living way in the state of Texas in the city of Mesquite, and his website is www.theoccultspecialist.com. And Bobby, welcome to the show.
Robbie, thank you.
Robbie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the paranormal and becoming an occult specialist?
Okay, that's real simple. When I was 8 years old, I was introduced to the occult by a relative of mine. And as I went along my life, I got involved in occultism itself. And I had traumatic experiences growing up, stuff with the occult and paranormal. And on March 27, 1988, I became a Christian. And a year later, I started dealing with the occult. And what I do is I provide investigations into occult activity and paranormal phenomena. And I also implement countermeasures to end spirit infestations here in North Texas.
Now, how would you describe what an occult specialist does?
Okay. My definition of an occult specialist is a person who is an expert on the occult, who's a paranormal investigator, and a demonologist placed together.
And is there a lot of work for an occult specialist down in Texas?
Yes, sir. There's an awful lot of it. I actually have 5 major groups of people I deal with, and they operate a lot of times by nationality or racial borders. For example, Anglo-Americans down here in Texas are involved most of the time in Satanism or Wicca. Mm-hmm. I have African-Americans involved in voodoo or hoodoo. I have Mexican and Latin Americans down here involved in Santeria or Palo Moambe. I have Native Americans down here involved in shamanism, and I have Oriental and Middle East people who are involved in mysticism down here. So I'm always quite busy.
Now, shamanism, I've never heard that referred to as an occult, a system of occult. That's usually regarded to as something sacred to the Native Americans. So how does this fit into the realm of an occult?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm also Potawatomi Indian and belong to the Potawatomi Indian tribe up in Oklahoma. And shamanism, but the reason why I define it as an occult practice is because I define occultism as anything that's involved in magic or rituals or ceremonies that have something to do with spirits. And shamanism, as you know, has a lot to do with spiritism and contact of spirits. And I place that in there because a lot of the times the people I meet who are involved in shamanism have had occult activity because of the rituals and ceremonies and objects that they use. And it brings on paranormal phenomena, which they go hand in hand.
But couldn't we look at Christianity and say that there's plenty of examples of spirituality there and magic, Christ turning water into wine? And by the same definition that you just gave shamanism, can't we apply that to Christianity?
No, because I don't contact different spirits. I talk to God, to Christ himself. Now, I know that the Lord is a spirit, and I'm Jesus' spirit now. But as far as involved in and using any type of occult object to reach the Lord, I don't do that. And that's what makes a distinction between shamanism and Christianity, is because Christianity is involved in prayers.
Well, wait a sec here. What about the crucifix? What about holy water?
Well, I don't use either one of those. I am Baptist. I don't use crucifixes, and I don't use
But still, Christians do. So once again, I'm finding it hard to make a leap that Christianity, using the same criteria that you used to describe other cults, other religions, doesn't fall into the same. Is it just because that it is your religion of choice?
No. Like I said, I'm not using objects. That's the biggest premise I'm talking about. Because in the occult uses objects to reach a type of spirit. I don't use a crucifix. Okay. And in fact, I'm not aware of people who are Catholic. Now, they may, because I'm not Catholic,
right,
who may use a crucifix to talk to God. But as far as I know, they don't.
All right, Robbie, stand by. We've got to take our first break. Exonation Robby-Rush is our guest this hour. He is an occult specialist. And his website is theoccultspecialist.com. And Robbie and I will return on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold. You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Wilda Wiyeka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we will weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Wilda Wiyeka, and the Science of Magic right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Linnea Starr began to demonstrate a metaphysical connection to the spirit world as a little girl. Her family noticed the connection, but it was a great-grandmother who told the family that Linnea was indeed gifted. The great-grandmother, who was also gifted, felt that Linnea had indeed inherited these attributes. It has been noticed that oftentimes such things are passed down through the generations. Linnea was also born with a caul, a thin white membrane across a newborn's face. Legend has it that if the baby is born with this caul, the child will have second sight, or what we call psychic abilities. Linnea Starr does past, present, and future, and has the gift of prophecy. It is written within scriptures that if you are able to give factual information, and prophecies indeed come true, the gift indeed comes from the divine realm. Linnea Starr does large interactive groups as well as private gatherings. For more information on Linnea Starr or to contact Linnea for a one-on-one consultation, visit her website at www.linneastar.com. That's www.linneastar.com. Exonation, Robby-Rush is our guest. He is an occult specialist. His website is theoccultspecialist.com. All right, Robbie, so help me better understand why you consider shamanism and some of the other fringe religions as an occult, and what makes them an occult.
Okay. By definition, the occult simply means something that's secretive. It's not known to anyone unless you're initiated in that particular religion and group or ceremony ritual. And I subscribe to shamanism to the realm of the occult because a lot of times the people who are involved in shamanism are not talking to, per se, one specific deity. They're talking to many deities and many spirits of their dead ancestors. For example, I'm Potawatomi Indian, and I have in our culture, there are a lot of powwows where people are doing rituals and ceremonies to try to talk to the ancestors to seek information from them. Well, I as a Christian don't do that. I don't seek the information from dead relatives because I believe in absolute, and I believe that when you die, you either go to heaven or you go to hell. You don't hang around on earth, and that has employed with when I deal with the paranormal because I don't believe in earthbound spirits.
But what about Christians who pray to their deceased relatives, asking them for guidance?
Of all, I believe that is incorrect. And as a Christian, I don't read the type of Bible that advocates communication with the dead, because the Bible I read is the authorized version of 1611. Now, I know there are many people who have different variations and different perspectives of their faith as a Christian. I know the Greek Orthodox is different from Roman Catholic and vice versa from Protestant. But the particular Bible I read, the Lord that I worship from the Bible I have, he validates this by saying in Deuteronomy 18:10 and 11 not to participate in necromancy, which is communication with the dead. If you hit up onto the New Testament, it talks about that a man should seek the Lord and not his relatives. So when people tell me they're Christian and they're talking to the dead, I'm trying to validate from our Bible collectively where they get that from.
So if you talk to the dead, you're part of the occult. Is that how I understand it?
That's how I look at it, sir. Yes, sir. It's referred to as necromancy, which is communication from the dead.
Jesus Christ is dead?
No, he's not. I talk to him all the time in my heart, and I talk to him in prayer. And that's the difference between other religions and Christianity is I can take you to a graveside of every single person who's died that is known, whether the great religions of Buddhism or Hinduism or Islam or whatever, including occult groups, and you can still see their bodies of their leaders or deities. But I can go to Jerusalem, and I can find an empty tomb, and that's why I believe that Jesus Christ is not dead, that he is very much alive.
All right. Now, you said that necromancy is when you talk to the dead, right?
Yes, sir.
And yet, according to the dictionary, the definition is a method of divination through alleged communication with the dead in a black art, or magic in general, especially that's practiced by a witch or sorcerer, sorcery, witchcraft, or conjuration.
Yes, that's absolutely right. In fact, but here's the thing when it comes to Christianity, in Deuteronomy 18:10, it says you're not to practice divination. So that's forbidden to me as a Christian. And that's why if you're going to the reason why I look at it this way, Rob, is that I have to look at it from my point of view because I have to have an absolute to go by, and that's what I do. Now, I know a lot of people have different perspectives. For example, I believe that the word ghost and spirit are one and the same because in the Bible it talks about when Jesus on the cross, he gave up the ghost, or it talks about the Holy Spirit. It's just simply a reference to a spirit. But I believe that of the spirit beings that are on this planet, they're either angelic or demonic. And that's why I relegate occultism to anybody contacting spirits of the dead, because if the Bible is true, and I believe that it is, I have to go by what it's saying for my general understanding of truth.
But what about angels? Where do they fit in? Can people talk to their angels, communicate with their angels?
No. In fact, every time the Bible talks about an angel appearing to a person, the angel always says two things. First of all, it says, do not fear.
Right.
Second of all, it always delivers a message that can be validated, whether it's in the Old Testament or New Testament. It never contradicts what's already been written. But yet when people tell me they talk to angels, and these angels give them some quasi-religious information, it always invalidates the very verses of the Bible that they're supposedly trying to reference. And that's why it's one of the reasons I know that talking to angels and talking to demons are two different things.
Would you say that this strictly depends on one's own belief? That in my opinion, now this is just my opinion.
Okay.
If you're Catholic and you want to pray to the saints, go right ahead. If you're Christian, you want to pray to Jesus, go right ahead. What does it really matter what a person believes? It shouldn't, we pride ourselves in being able to separate religion from state. So shouldn't we afford the same courtesy to those who want to believe in their own religious philosophies? And just because it's not ours, do we really have the authority to say that you're part of a cult?
Well, yes and no. And the reason why I say that is because it's kind of like in our world today, political correct world, is that the people who decry tolerance are usually the ones who are the most intolerant. I am tolerant of everybody. I mean, you can believe whatever you want to believe. I'm not going to come out and hit you over the head with the Bible. But if you contact me and say, I've got things moving around in my house, I know it's not me doing it, I'm sitting here watching a picture fly off the wall, or I have got people who contact me from time to time and tell me they've been bitten while they're in the shower, or things of that nature, or somebody's having things happen to them that are scaring the daylights out of them at nighttime or at day. They'll contact me. I'll come over and I'll start asking questions, which is part of my investigation. And 9 times out of 10, they're involved in some kind of occult practice, whether it's using the Ouija board or practicing spiritism by trying to summon spirit through a book called the Necronomicon. But what this has to do with what you just said is the fact that, yes, I believe that the Bible is absolutely true. Because if I didn't, it would be just some kind of idea I have. I follow my faith seriously, and I believe that the Bible doesn't contain truth. I believe it is true.
Well, I agree with you.
Okay.
However, if somebody wants to believe in a different part of Christianity, does it really matter? Because if you are a Christian, a true Christian, you believe there is only one God. So no matter what philosophy the person is practicing, they are just practicing in a different manner to the one God.
I can understand that from that point of view, Rob, and I agree with you to that point. But one thing I do stop at is when Jesus says in John 14:6, I am the way. He didn't say I am one of the ways or I'm kind of the way. He said I am the way. And I've heard people talk about Jesus being a good teacher, a good prophet.
Right.
Well, good people don't go around claiming to be the Son of God. Because
hey, listen, there's many people in this world today that go around claiming they're the Son of God.
You're absolutely right. And the proof is in the pudding. And here's the thing. I know it's in Scripture. It's in the book of John chapter 9, verse 35 through 38, where a man was talking to Jesus, and Jesus asked him, do you believe in the Son of God? And the man said, who is he that I might believe? And Jesus said, it's not only him who's talking to you, you're looking at him. And then the man worshiped Jesus. So Jesus allowed a man to worship him. So
okay, I understand the theological aspect. I really do.
Okay.
Okay, I understand the theological, your belief
yes, sir.
is strong.
Thank
Good
you.
for you. My belief is strong. Even though I'm a Christian, I look at Christianity a totally different way than you do.
That's fine.
Yeah.
However,
I don't go around saying that people that I know who are shamans are part of an occult, are part of the occult, and other areas, just because they pray to their mother, their father, asking for guidance, or they like to believe in angels. I don't consider that to be part of an occult.
Well, I don't either. I don't believe that people who believe in angels are a part of the occult. Now, let me explain something to you. Let me do this one more time. I'll make sure I got myself clear. Is that the occult, from my perspective, is any type of activity that uses a sacred ritual or a ceremony or an object to communicate with spirits. Simple. That's all there is to it. And people have different religious belief systems. I understand that. And I don't go around, telling people, hey, you're an occultist. I only talk to people and I share my beliefs and I share my perspective. And if they don't believe that, that's fine. I have people I know who are in the occult. I've known well-known Satanist high priests, and we've talked to each other. We know where each other stands, but we also are sincere to believe that each other are wrong.
Okay. So it's a matter of mutual respect.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. If someone who contacted you based on your beliefs is a member of an organization where the occult is present, they called you for help, would you give them help?
You bet I would.
Attaboy.
And I don't charge a thing for it. I've been doing this for 27 years. And that's an interesting thing, Rob, is I was in the occult from the age of 8 years old to I was 23. So it's not like I deal with it from the outside perspective. I've been both in and out. So I've got a perspective that's very, it's a totalitarian thought.
What aspect of the occult were you in?
Witchcraft.
Wicca or witchcraft?
I was a solitary practitioner. I practiced Western European occultism and a lot of Oriental occultism.
All right. So were you part of witchcraft or Wicca?
I was witchcraft. It wasn't a Wiccan group. I practiced the old world style, divination. I used dowsing. And some people may think that that's not occultic. I believe that it is.
I've had several police officers on the show over the last couple of months that are paranormal investigators by night, police officers during the day, and they use dowsing rods. So does that mean they're part of the occult?
I've listened to them. Matter of fact, I've heard you. I've been listening to people you interview, and it's very interesting. Your show's very interesting. And I was listening to them, and yet I have found that divination using dowsing rods is found in the book of Jeremiah, and God forbids it. So either these people have never read the whole Bible, or they're picking and choosing what they believe. I believe, like I said, in absolutes. If you're going to read the Bible, you need to believe the whole thing. It's not cafeteria religion.
Well, once again, it's a matter of belief, personal belief.
True.
We'll be back on the other side of this break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Robbie Rush is our guest. www.theoccultspecialist.com.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Thomas Jefferson was a Burgess of 27 when he met Martha Wales Skelton, a 22-year-old widowed heiress who was fondly called Patty by her family. They were married on January the 1st, 1772, and they took up residence in a cabin on the building site on top of a Virginia mountain that Thomas had named Monticello. As Thomas and Patty slowly built their first version of the great house at Monticello, the Revolutionary War was heating up. Patty, with difficulty, bore 5 children, but only 2 girls survived. Thomas's political career developed to the point where he was often away from home, but after he authored and signed the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia, he resolved never again to leave his wife. He was elected the governor of Virginia, just as that state became the Revolution's last battleground. The Revolutionary War ended in 1781, and Thomas gladly retired altogether to my family, my farm, and my books. But Patty continued to want to bear her treasured husband a son, and late in the summer of 1782, she died of kidney failure at the age of 33, 4 months after having borne yet another girl. Thomas was so devastated by her death that he never remarried. He mourned her for the rest of his life, even as he helped to frame the peace in France and then became the first Secretary of State, the second Vice President, and the third President of the United States. This story is true. Thomas Jefferson was such an obsessive letter writer and record keeper that we know where he was and what he was doing nearly every day of his adult life. Every significant thing he says in My Thomas comes from his contemporary writings. My Thomas by Roberta Grimes is now available at Barnes & Noble, Costco, Target, Books A Million, Hudson Booksellers, Kmart, Walmart, Sam's Club, Walgreens, CVS, and online at Amazon.com. You can visit Roberta Grimes online at www.robertagrimes.com.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
Unwilling to be the government's deadly assassin, gifted psychic Kahara Mitchell went AWOL and ended up buried under rubble in the wake of a great tsunami. She regained consciousness far from Earth on the medical ship of a Daguerreonian intergalactic fleet. Has she been rescued or abducted by aliens? The Chalice of Carrie, Kahira O'Donnell's latest paranormal science fiction romance, is the passionate story of an Earth woman and her destined mates, twin kings from another galaxy. Kahara uses her gifts fighting alongside Lords Rom and Ra in a war that will determine the destiny of galaxies. The Chalice of Carrie by Kahira O'Donnell is now available at KahiraO'Donnell.com or at Amazon.com. You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. What happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Annie Callahan, dedicated to negotiating a position for Earth within the Daguerreonian Coalition, had trained for 3 years to become an Earth ambassador. Yet, the very eve of her arrival at the capital ruling planet, she is claimed as destined mate to an oversized, mating-maddened vamp who swears he will never release her. Lord Aztaran, king of the Macian sector, has waited over 900 years for his destined mate. Having found her as an alpha vamp, he is unable to relinquish Annie, virtually holding her hostage until he can claim her. Yet Macians cannot survive without their mate's love. How could he strip her of her citizenship, her ambassadorship, and her freedom and expect to win her heart? With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is the latest book in this exciting series, The Daguerreonian Chronicles, guaranteed to keep readers coming back for more. With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is available on Amazon.com and KahiraO'Donnell.com. Exonation, Robbie-Rush is our guest this hour. He is an occult specialist. His website is theoccultspecialist.com. So where does the paranormal and the occult line happen?
Okay, this is what makes me a little bit more different than most of the people out there. I believe that the occult activity produces paranormal phenomena. And if you have paranormal phenomena, there's usually occult activity, that they go hand in hand.
Okay. So anything to do with the paranormal is occult-based?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
What's the difference?
I'm sorry?
What's the difference?
Okay, the difference is simply this. I'll give an example. I got contacted recently, a couple weeks ago, by a family who lived in Arlington, Texas, and they said they were having phenomena that was paranormal. And when I go out, I go with an open mind. I don't agree with everybody thinks everything that's weird is paranormal or vice versa. There's no such thing. And I go out and look at and talk to the people and come to find out they were involved in some occult practices and had some occult objects. And what I believe is that occult objects act like a beacon to spirits. And whether you believe in them or not, these objects, and this can be found in any culture in the world throughout history, objects are used in occult worship. And when someone gives them to somebody or leaves them in a certain place or whatever, spirits are attracted to that.
Where do the spirits come from?
Well, I believe that the spirits, like I said earlier on the show, is that I don't believe in earthbound human spirits. I believe that when a person dies, they go to heaven and hell. So that leaves to beg, what are the spirits that are out there? I believe they're either angelic or they're demonic. I don't believe in UFOs. I don't believe in extraterrestrials. I don't believe in Bigfoot. I believe there are spirits that are on this planet that are either angelic or demonic. And I don't believe angelic spirits go around biting people, scaring people, hurting people. So that leaves only one thing. It's demonic.
Now, you said that when people die, they go to heaven or they go to hell.
Yes, sir.
What about when Christ comes and raises the dead? Is this part of your religious belief?
Yes, sir. I believe in the rapture. I believe in the premillennial.
Okay, so what happens between the time of death to the time of rapture?
Well, here's the thing about this. In 1 Thessalonians 5:23, it says we have a body, we have a soul, and a spirit. A soul is the emotions, the intellect, your will. A spirit is the animating force that basically makes you alive. I believe that when a person dies, their body stays here in the ground, whether it's cremated or buried, whatever.
Right.
But your spirit and your soul go to heaven or go to hell. And when Jesus comes back, he will raise that dead body and make it a new body to be reunited with the spirit and the soul that are in heaven.
That's one way of looking at it, I guess.
Yes, sir. And
Okay.
I base it upon Scripture because that's in 1 Thessalonians.
So what about these people who say they're visited by the spirit or the ghost of their aunt, their uncle, their newly departed parent comes to visit them shortly after death?
All right, that's very easy to explain going on the premise of what I just said, is if angels and demons are the spirits in this world that people can contact, when a person dies, I believe everything, and this is from the Scriptures, everything a person's done, the way they talk, the way they said, the way they look, everything is kind of like in a type of way that everybody knows that in the spiritual realm. So a spirit that is a demon can manifest itself either in an apparition form or any way that person seeks to think that they might see some kind of ghost or spirit. They can act like that dead person. They can look like that dead person. They can use little buzzwords or things only certain people would know to get people involved in occultism. And Rob, be honest with you, for 27 years, I have been to places throughout Texas and Louisiana and Florida and contacted people throughout the United States. And every single time, without exception, these so-called spirits that they're contacting them always deny that there is absolute truth, that Jesus is the only way to heaven, and that the Bible is the way to understand God. And what happens is these people get contacted by spirits either because they're lonely or they're grieving, and they'll wind up trying to reach their dead loved one through.
Well, let me ask you this, okay?
Sure,
At this
sure.
point, we're throwing a lot on the people here. It's their fault because they're grieving. It's their fault because they're lonely.
No, it's not their
Wait
fault.
a sec. But we're saying that this is the reason why they are having these experiences. Let me ask you something. As a Christian, why doesn't Christ or any other angels step in and protect them then?
It's really simple, because God is not going to force his will upon anyone.
Wait, whoa. So we're talking about the free will clause. where people have the free will to do whatever they want. They know what's right, they know what's wrong, and if they make the decision, they have to live by it.
Yes and no. For example, you drive down the street and you're speeding, and I'm sure you've heard this analogy before, and a police officer pulls you over and you explain that you didn't know the speed limit, but yet the speed limit is there.
Yeah.
The reason why I said about free will, Rob, is because free will evolution does not involve forcing people to violate the very book or the very faith that they claim to be. And see, that's the problem I see with Christianity today. We got too many religious people, but not enough people of faith. Anybody can claim to be a Christian, but really live like it.
Is it possible here in the year 2016 we do not need religion any longer?
No, sir, I don't believe it. In fact, I believe just the opposite.
Because most of the wars throughout history have been caused by religion.
Yes, sir. A misapplication of it. I mean, for example, I'm sure the Islamic people believe that they're doing Allah a favor by killing Christians, and the Crusaders did the same thing, but they're both wrong.
You used the example of the police officer who pulls over somebody for speeding, and the person says to the police officer, "I didn't know the speed limit." What happens if the cop gives that person a break? Doesn't give them a ticket, gives them a warning.
The interesting thing about that is that we're not dealing with what we're talking about, a human being and being an absolute authority of who you are. We're talking about divine being in God, and if you believe like I do in absolutes, I can drop a brick on the floor, and whether I believe it's going to float into space or not, it's going to hit the floor. And see, truth is not what you make it. Truth is not relevant. Truth is truth. If it has any part of a lie, it's no longer truth, it's a lie. Because there's no such thing as half-truths.
So how do you know that the people who practice other types of Christianity that gives them the authority based on their belief to pray to the statues in the Roman Catholic churches, to light candles as a glimmering hope of light, or to pray to their departed relatives for help and for guidance? What's wrong with that? If it satisfies them and they believe as much as you believe in your way of looking at Christianity, and they believe with the same conviction in their practice of Christianity, what gives anybody the right to say, you're right, they're wrong, or they're wrong, and you're right?
Well, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing right there, Rob, is that it's not about whether I'm right or they're wrong and vice versa. Is what does the Bible say? Well,
let's be honest here. The Bible wasn't written by God, it was written by man. We know that Moses wrote the book of Genesis. And I can go through the entire thing. We've got the Council of Nicaea where the Bible was edited. We've had the Bible edited throughout history. We don't know what the real context was. Plus, at the time of the writing of the Bible, the knowledge base of humanity wasn't as vast as it is today. The big question is, what would happen if the events that occurred in the Bible were to happen today? Would the Bible be written the same way?
I believe that it would. And I do want to let you know I disagree with you about a couple of things, if I may interject.
Sure you can.
I believe that the Bible was divinely inspired by holy men of God. That's what it says in 2 Peter 1:21.
Yeah, well, okay.
And hold on a second, if you don't mind. And I believe the Bible is the Word of God. It's not become the Word. And no, actually, at the Council of Nicaea, they did not piece together. The Council of Nicaea was simply trying to develop in 325 AD.
How many chapters of the Bible were taken out by the Council?
How many chapters?
How many books that were originally in the Bible were removed at the Council of Nicaea?
They didn't remove anything that was not
bull crap. They did.
Okay, hold on a second here. First of all, at the Council of Jamnia, all right, we know from the Dead Sea Scrolls that people found that the same thing that was believed today in our Old Testament was back then 2,000 years ago and prior to that.
So do you believe in the Dead Sea Scrolls? Should the Dead Sea Scrolls be part of Christianity?
Well, actually, I believe that the Bible, that the books that are in the Dead Sea Scrolls are the same than my canon.
Yeah.
The 39 books of the Old Testament are right there. Now, in the Council of Nicaea, the 27 books, and here's where the whole thing gets involved in this stuff, Rob, is that you start trying to figure out, well, how did the canon get closed? Well, there's many different things, and that'd have to be another time for another different show, because that could take forever again. But I do want to say this real quick, is that I believe that we don't have, the Bible today is not missing anything that wasn't supposed to be there. For example, if you believe in the Apocrypha, if you look in Maccabees, a man dies 4 times. He's beheaded, he's stepped on by an elephant, he's shot through arrows, and he's stabbed with a spear. How many times does a man die? Now, if you believe the Apocrypha is the Bible, then it's got a mistake, because last time I checked, you don't die 4 times. So that is not biblical. And that's what they did at the Council of Nicaea. They were trying to determine, is the canon that we have legitimate based upon internal evidence, by the different evidence of the inside of the scriptures, because one Bible author mentions another Bible author, and every one that we have today was mentioned. All the other extra biblical texts, whether it's Apocrypha, pseudepigrapha, or whatever, they all have mistakes in geography and location, and they always contradict the accepted books that all of Christendom had.
You know, there's an old saying in real estate, location, location, location. And in publishing, there's a saying as well called marketing, marketing, and marketing. The Bible has been marketed more than any other book going. And you know what? When I see people living on the street homeless, when I see people who have no food in their tummies, when I see kids going to school in rags, and I see these churches, mega churches, and I see the Vatican, in my opinion, religion today has turned into a farce.
You're absolutely right, and I agree with you 100%. Yeah. And let me tell you something. I'm not Catholic. I'm Baptist, and I belong to a Baptist church where we believe in helping people. I've done it myself.
Sure.
I am not at all in favor of mega churches or giant sanctuaries whatsoever, because I believe that we are the hands and feet of Christ. And if we're going to help people, he's going to use us.
Well, that's not the direction I was going in, but that's really good.
Well, thank you.
You know, but I have to wonder, you know, I really have to wonder if there is a place in today's society for religion. And I'll tell you, and I'll give you my reasoning why.
All right.
When you look through the Bible, the God of the Old Testament was very mean. He was a cruel man or woman, deity. He didn't like you, bang, Sodom and Gomorrah, gone. He destroyed an entire world except for Noah and his family. Now, are you going to tell me that I'm a dad, I'm a grandfather? When my children do something wrong, I do everything in my power to help them understand the difference between right and wrong. I would never kill my child. I would never harm my child. And if we go with the Bible, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I'm sorry, I don't buy it anymore. Because a deity, a father, a figure does not kill his children. If we are to believe the Bible as the word, the ultimate word, whether you're Egyptian, whether you're Macedonian, whether you're a Jew, whether you're Syrian, whether whoever you are, God is your Father. And I'll tell you something. As a father, what God does, there is no excuse for. None. And if that's the way the Almighty treats his children, he has no place in society any longer.
Well, I understand your point of view. And every instance that you mentioned a while ago, you forgot some things. Sodom and Gomorrah were given warning.
Well, sure they were, but you're going to tell me that everyone, you're going to tell me that everyone in Sodom and Gomorrah was evil, even the little children that were destroyed.
Well, first of all, there were no little children.
How do you know that?
because of archaeological evidence.
So what happened? Did these people just multiply by themselves without any?
Let me explain something to you. Sodom and Gomorrah and the 10 cities of the plain that were located there made their commerce through slavery and through capturing prisoners of war. Because that's even mentioned in Genesis, where Abraham was coming back from the slaughter of the kings.
So did the United States of America.
I'm sorry?
So did the United States of America with slavery and prisoners of war. So?
As a Potawatomi Indian, Native American, I don't agree with that. My people weren't slaves.
No, I'm not talking about Native Americans. I'm talking about the African Americans that were brought over from Africa, turned into slaves.
There
in
were a lot
America.
of African people. There were also a lot of white people who were indentured slaves here in the United States.
Right.
That is a fact. In the early Eastern colonies.
So basically, listen, we're running out of time really fast here. What has changed since day one? Answer: nothing.
What do you mean? What changed? What reference?
The world is as screwed up today, if not worse, than it was in biblical times.
Oh, well, here's the thing. I have to say this, Rob. God does not ever let anyone go to hell without warnings first. He never does anything without giving people warning. And I disagree with the fact that not everybody is a child of God, if you want to speak that, because even in the Bible, Jesus said, "You're of your father, the devil." Now, either Jesus was a liar, he's a lunatic, or he's Lord. So who's right? Jesus or us?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Well,
we'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the XO from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. XO Nation, are you a believer? Are you a skeptic? Send me your email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com.
Children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. If you enjoy reading a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love From Out of the Woodwork by William S. Peckham. Sean Kennedy, a Toronto contractor, buys derelict houses, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, a century house in ruins, and starts the renovation, the house fights back. He is visited by ghosts of owners past. His visions are triggered by touching an oak mantle, reading a faded letter, opening an old locket, or opening a brand new casket in the basement. These visions will take you on a trip across southern Ontario from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Kingston. From Out of the Woodwork is now available in paperback and on your favorite electronic reader. To order your copy of From Out of the Woodwork, go to www.williamspeckham.com. That's www.williamspeckham.com. Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Robby-rush is our guest this hour. He's an occult specialist in Mesquite, Texas. And if you'd like to visit Robbie's site, it's theoccultspecialist.com. When you're brought into a house where there is a negative spirit or a demon, how do you get that spirit or that demon to leave the premise, to leave the people who they are badgering alone or haunting alone?
Okay, that's really simple, Rob. What I do is I have a two-part involvement in my investigation. For people, there got spirits inside of them. Use what's known as question command or prayer and fasting, which is a banishment. It's not a ritual ceremony. It's just where I command the spirits to leave, and I go through a type of time where I talk to the spirits and find out how they got in, what their name is, and ask the person if they want them out, and I cast them out. On the other hand, when I've got spirits that are how I'm doing things, and they're not necessarily involved in a person through possession or whatever, it's through oppression, which is outside the human body, I developed a process called code, and that's an acronym for consecration, obsecration, desecration, execration, where I find an object that's involved in the occult that they may either had given to a friend or picked up in a store or whatever. I identify it. I show the person what's going on. I tell them that we need to destroy this, get rid of it. And 9 times out of 10, that gets rid of the spirit itself.
Wow. What happens if the spirit doesn't want to go?
Well, that's the fun part. They do. And
But
the reason
if
why I
they
say
don't?
that is because I believe, like I said, and it's not just my belief. I just want to make sure to your listeners, it's not just what I believe. I know this is a fact because when I've gone to somebody's home and they've got stuff going on that's weird, and I find out they've been using a Ouija board. I tell them you shouldn't have it. It's a practice of the occult. We get rid of it. End of discussion. There goes the spirits. They don't ever come back, period. And I always call back a week later to make sure nothing is staying. Or if they're involved in something like they're using astrology charts, or they're using, they're practicing Satanism, or they're involved in some kind of banishing ritual through the OTO or whatever occult group they're involved in, whatever they're using, I tell them what's wrong with it. I share them what the Bible says about it, and they have the freedom to either let me help them get rid of it, or they say, I like it, I don't have a problem, and I leave. I never force anybody to get rid of spirits, but when I do for these spirits, Rob, they never come back. I don't have to come back over and over again.
Right.
27 years, I've never had to do that.
Wow. How many times do you go to investigate an alleged paranormal event that it's basically psychosomatic, mind over matter, that is being caused by the person themselves, that there is no paranormal activity?
How many times have I done that, or how many?
How many times have you gone to do an investigation?
Oh, it's been like that?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, quite a few. That's one of the things I do. I want to also let your listeners know that I also debunk stuff. I've had people tell me they're demon possessed, and I go and start talking to them. I remember one time I had a person who claimed to be possessed. Their family called me, and they're doing weird stuff, talking strange languages, acting really crazy. I set down a tape recorder in front of them, and they got real quiet. And I said, well, I want you to go ahead and claim that, go ahead and do your acting, and I'm going to tape you. And they claimed that they were speaking Hindi. And I listened to him talk, and then I pretended that I had it recorded. And then I came back and told them that later on that week that I let a Hindu person listen to it, and they told me it was fake.
Hey, listen, Robbie, we have to say so long for tonight. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, X Zone Nation. Our guest this hour has been Robby-rush, and Robbie is a demonologist. He should have been a minister or a member of the clergy with his savvy ways with the Bible. But in my opinion, If you want to believe your way, as long as you do not do any harm to others, so be it. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. By the way, Robbie's website is theoccultspecialist.com.